Hello, hello, hello. We are back with episode 4 of the Mind series. I am your host, Alejandra Salgado. So Mind, meaningful, inspiring, non-conforming development. And it's been quite a while, so I'm going to do a really quick reintroduction for any new listeners. And for my previous listeners, thank you so much for being patient and for tuning in. And well, Mind. So like I mentioned, meaningful, inspiring, non-conforming development. The point of the podcast is let's have fun. Let's motivate each other. Let's talk to people and learn about what they're doing, their specialty, how they're helping people around the world. And yes, lately I've been only interviewing women, but I am open to interview any man as well. So anyone making a difference in the world or anything with the niche in any industry. And just let's learn. Let's improve. Let's be better. Why not, right? A better you makes a better world. And well, this upcoming interview that I'm sharing in this episode is an interview with Cindy Luquin. So Cindy Luquin is a holistic menstrual coach. So I absolutely adore this woman. I'm so blessed that I was able to meet her at an event thanks to Jacqueline at the Secure Podcast. Shout out to Jackie. Love you, girl. Okay, so in this episode, we quickly kind of dive into what Cindy does. So Cindy is an expert in fertility and in the health and menstrual cycles. So yes, periods. We're talking about periods. And we have this preconceived notion, this thought of periods as being something negative, maybe pain. We associate it with pain, with that time of the month. But Cindy has this important knowledge how our menstrual cycle can be used in a different way. You know, we need to stop seeing it as a curse, but, shifting it as our power. How do we align our projects, our intuition, our goals with our menstrual cycles? How they align with the moon, how they align with our health. What signs does our period tell us at certain points of our life? So, I hope you enjoy the interview. If you need more information, you're curious, you're like, oh my goodness, I need to talk to Cindy. I need to book a session with her. At the end of the segment, you will listen to her, give out her social media links so you can follow her. And I please encourage you to follow her. She is amazing. I hope you enjoy this episode and let me know. Please leave a comment, leave a review. I would greatly appreciate it. And again, thank you so much for listening. Have a great day. This is your host, Alejandra Salgado with Mind, meaningful, inspiring, non-conforming development. So I am here with Cindy Luquin. She is a holistic menstrual coach, right? Mm-hmm. And well, I want to first of all thank you for being able to do the podcast with me, and just you have this power of just sharing this information about our menstrual cycle, because like you have mentioned, people view it as a curse and it holds so much power. So thank you for being here.
No, thank you. I'm honored anytime somebody wants me to share this knowledge, because the more people know, the more empowered, especially our community, Latinx folks, can really just be empowered and understand their bodies on a deeper level.
Definitely. So for someone who just hears the word holistic menstrual coach, like how would you describe to them what is it that you do?
So the holistic portion, of course, is I look at every aspect that makes up who you are. We look at different aspects like spirituality, emotional, just different life factors and how those contribute to your menstrual cycle. We all have unique menstrual cycles, and we don't realize how that's so central to like just our overall health and how we show up in the world every day for Latinas, for individuals that just have menstruation in general.
And how would you say you got into this work?
So I was diagnosed with an ovarian cyst in 2015. I had been on the pill for about 6 years, and when I was diagnosed, they found the cyst was the size of a grapefruit on my right ovary. And I remember asking the doctors, well, I've been on the pill for 6 years. Is that what contributed to this? And they said, well, there's always a risk, when you take the pill. And I just remember thinking, nobody ever explained to me that there's a risk. They just kind of give you the pill and, okay, on your way, good luck. It's like a cure-all. I remember taking it too. Not only did I want to use it to prevent pregnancy, but I also had really bad acne, and I thought, oh, I'm gonna get a 2-for-1. Like, my acne is gonna be so gone, like my skin's gonna be so clear, I don't have to worry about getting pregnant. Like they advertise it like that, right? Yes. Like it's this cure-all, it's a miraculous pill that's gonna solve all your problems. So when I was diagnosed, I was like, oh my God, like nobody told me this. And I thought I was making a responsible decision because my parents were teenagers when they had me. Mi mamá tenía 17 and my dad was 16. So, you know, culturally we're told like, no vayas a repetir lo mismo, you know, get your education, do better, no vayas a salir con tu domingo siete. Like those messages are always so instilled in us if you're a Latina. So you're so fearful of your body. You just automatically think, alguien me va a ver and boom, I'm going to get pregnant, you know? Yes. Like, as silly as that sounds, like that's really the message that our culture has been telling us. And so I had surgery and they removed the ovary. I still have my left ovary.
Okay.
But after that, I went post-surgery to the follow-up, and they were like, okay, it looks like you're healing. Everything's looking fine. Like, you got your cycles back. I had a period, luckily, like, that didn't go away. My body was functioning the way it should. And they said, you can go back on the pill. Oh. Because if you don't want to have kids, you can go back on the pill. And I was like, well, why would I go back on the pill? Like, I literally lost an organ because of the pill, you know? Wow. And then they're like, no, it will help shrink any potential cysts that can grow on your existing ovary. And I thought,
that's insane.
Yeah, I thought that's just crazy. And I just realized that I'm going to have to like do my own research because they're not giving me other options. I don't want to take this pill anymore. And that's when I went on like a year-long search. I Googled stuff. I would like YouTube, like natural birth control or like non-hormonal birth control. And, you know, there is there's like the non-hormonal IUD, the copper IUD, but I didn't want a device in my body because I was like, that doesn't align with who I am. It just feels foreign to have something in me that I don't even know what's going to happen también. So I went to my public library and I found this book called Taking Charge of Your Fertility. This book, if you look it up, if you get a chance to run into it in your public library, it's big. It's like an encyclopedia's worth of information. So I just started looking and reading up, and I was just like blown away, like, wow, we're not fertile every day of our cycle. Like, pregnancy can't just randomly happen any day. It's like a certain window when it happens, and if we know that, then we can use that to like achieve whatever goal we want, you know? Whether it's trying to have a baby, or whether it's preventing having a baby, or just like wanting to understand your health, right? And so, that moment was really what changed my life. And I was like, the more I read, the more I understood. And then I started sharing with my husband, and he, you know, he's also a Latino, he's Mexican. And so here we are, right? Like two Latinx folks, some Salvadorian, Guatemalan, just like learning about this. And it's totally the opposite of what we've been taught. And I thought, I wonder if there's other people that know the same thing. And I didn't really see many people that were teaching that were like, that look like me, right? That come from my background also. And I thought, okay, well, let me just document. Let me just make a platform, a ver qué pasa. And as the years have gone by, I've just been developing more of my skills, and I was like, okay, I know this now. Like, I really have a grasp of what it is, and I want to teach other Latinas too. Wow. To really just understand your body on a deeper level, not just centralizing and focusing on procreation, right? Like of having babies or not, but really just using your cycle to coordinate your life and realizing that we have different phases in our cycles, and we can utilize that to really show up and be in tune with who we are, and then use that to our advantage in our lives.
I mean, unfortunately, it took that like experience in your life to get you where you are today, which is, I mean, it was maybe sucked at the moment, but now it's like, it kind of, doesn't it all connect now? Like, oh, this is where I had to be today. Because that experience in my life had to happen for you to be where you are now. Yeah. And then, have you noticed that all this information, because it helps us women too, like, the information out there is not, there's not many women of color, right, who have this information. No. So don't we notice this pattern of like this great information that can be an asset to our life that is not coming from people that look like us.
Yep. And you know, that's by design,
That's
right?
by design.
That's by design. It's like the less we know, the more I say, and people might think this is radical, but like we have to say it and call it what it is. The less we know about our bodies and how they function, the more control the system has over us. You know, like we're kept in the dark. Like, you know, we think that having periods is a curse. We think that, you know, if you are not on the pill, then you're irresponsible. You know, like really, like especially like that message is so prevalent for like people of color. If you're not on some type of hormonal contraceptive, or you're not specifically on some kind of medication to stop yourself from getting pregnant, you're irresponsible. You know, but nobody questions like white women if they do that, or just white people in general. It's like, oh no, they're choosing to do this this way. But for us, it's like, oh no, they don't know any better, so they need to be on medication.
And it reminds me of I know it's totally completely different topics, but it's like the justice system. It's not that the system is broken, it was designed that way. So it just those two clicked right now. It's insane. But what is one thing that because there's so much that the fertility, the menstrual cycle, that you have learned that you like you said, it can help us coordinate our life. So is there that one thing that you've learned that you think is either more valuable, or you think like, why don't we know more of this? Why doesn't my community know more about this?
So just the idea of like using or thinking about your menstrual cycle. Like we don't think about it. We see it as, again, es una maldición. It's a curse, you know? Like now going into like religious aspects, we think it's a curse because en la Biblia dice que Eva ate the fruit. She wasn't supposed to eat it, so now God cursed her to bleed every month, or God cursed her to experience excruciating pain during labor. Like that's the punishment that we have inherited for doing that. You know, and I heard this growing up.
I didn't know that.
Yeah,
wow.
I heard this, and I'm sure a lot of people listening will be like, oh my God, yes, the same message was told in my family. And I feel like that's just such a disadvantage, because now we're growing up thinking that we as women are just inherently bad and evil and like cursed, and we're just doomed to live our lives through pain and suffering. And I don't think that we need to. That's so unnecessary. That's just keeping us at like such a deficit mindset of like, well, this is just how my life is supposed to be. But if we really got in tune with that part of ourselves and realized like, no, it's actually really powerful. Like there's certain times in my cycle where I am more intuitive. I should be recharging and relaxing. And then there's other times where I'm like, I'm gonna freaking do this. Like I got the energy, like I'm gonna kill it. I'm gonna do all this shit that I can do. Imagine how powerful that is for an individual, you know? And it wasn't until I started incorporating that into my life, I thought like, oh my God, yes, we are cyclical. Like we're not supposed to operate like men. There's times of rest, and there's times of like, go get it, girl. You know?
And I think people fail to understand that for example, maybe I'm taking this a little bit too far, like the feminist movement, which is, there's different types of feminists, I guess you can say. And I feel like biologically, we're just wired differently as men. Let's just, like, our menstrual cycle, that's just different. I feel like people fail to understand that, you know? And we are capable of a lot, but we're capable of more in a different way than men. Men more, maybe more physical or more whatever, you know, because like you said, we have different hormones, and then theirs is higher sometimes than ours. And so who would you say, changing subjects from that, because that can get in a deeper rabbit hole, because there's a lot of people who are really strong feminists, and let's not tap into that. But for people who are hearing this conversation between me and you and say, oh my God, I want to know about more about this, like how do I need to be empowered with my menstrual cycle. Can you explain a little bit about the current work that you do, and then what you want to do with that in the future?
Okay, so what I do right now is I have a part-time practice on, you know, usually on weekends, where I can work with people one-on-one. I'm also looking into doing, hosting more like smaller workshops here with a smaller group of women. I've done workshops throughout LA. So if you follow me, you can follow me on Instagram. It's at Cindy_Luquin, Luquin. And there you're going to get a lot of information that I'm going to be teaching. I also encourage people to please sign up to my email list, because the people that are on my email list always get like first dibs, right? Because they're committed, and they get first dibs on like what's coming up. But anyway, so you can come in here and then we work with together on different sessions, and just like I've done with you, you know, we've looked at your cycle. We've seen like, okay, during this phase I might be more stressful, or just even learning that we have different phases, right? I know for you mentioned like, I didn't even know that. And just imagine so many more people don't know that. And if they did know that, that's why it's important for me to educate, because then we can use those phases and realize like, oh my God, this is why I feel this way during this time. And I can do this, or I can relax. Especially as Latinas, and we talked about this earlier, we haven't been taught to, or have even seen an example of what it's like for a woman to relax, what it's like to rest. Porque nuestras mamás, ¿quién les dijo? No, you know what, I got it. Go relax, go sit down.
Yeah, like,
that didn't exist.
No,
you know,
you were doing that thing, and I mean, if you're listening to this and you did not experience this, I would lucky for you. But maybe growing up in a household where you were just, you know, chill, like just hanging out, chilling, and they were called you huevona or this or lazy, you know that. So, and that gets ingrained in us. Yeah,
or if you're experiencing your period and you're like upset or irritated, or you're just like in pain, they look at you like,
yeah,
you know? That's so true. You know? You're like, you know, like you're making exagerada, you know? And it's like, no, my body is doing a lot of work right now. And I should respect myself and my tempo and my body and be like, I need to chill out.
I think that's so important because, as we discussed earlier too, we have this pressure that we need to do more, or we have this pressure of like, we have to fit a certain mold of the kind of woman we have to be, but we don't acknowledge that, you know, our cycle just play a big role in our lives, right? Because it affects like our hormone balance, and our hormone balance affects the way we think, right? Our emotions and our body, and we just, I think the work you're doing is important because once you learn to be in tune with that, you know what steps to take. Like you said, like I was lucky enough to for those of you listeners that don't know, I won a giveaway and with Cindy, so we're having a few sessions about kind of tracking the menstrual cycle, being in tune with that. And the biggest takeaway I've taken for today's session was learning about how I can coordinate my life based on your menstrual cycle. And that's not to limit yourself. It's how can you be more powerful? How can you be more strong, and how to be easy on yourself, right? How do you know? Because even though people don't agree with it, you do have to schedule in your self-care time, right? Because people don't think about that. And it's so important that you're doing that. And then who would you say is like your target? Do you have a specific target audience of like, do you want to focus on like a different age group, or what's your target audience?
So right now I'm targeting more like your age group, which is like millennial, Latinas, also like early to mid 30s, I would say. So that's kind of like I'd say it's like a pretty big group, right? Like late to mid 20s to like early 30s.
Okay.
Yeah, because I think that women at that time are ready to either get off of birth control, or they just want to know more about their bodies. You know, they're more open to it. I've noticed like you definitely were like, I've been wanting to know about this, and I'm so glad that I won the giveaway. And so I see that in a lot of this age group, that especially this generation, I think you guys are like way more woke, you know, and you want to know all the things, and that's so good. Like I'm super inspired by this younger generation, and that's why I feel like it's so important, you know, because you guys are really gonna shape the world that we live in the future, you know, and in generations that come after you también. Like I feel like imagine if we got the actual education, this education that I'm teaching, and I'm not the only one teaching it. You know, there's other women that have been doing it too. There's just like not too many women of color. And I want that to change, you know, for the future. I hope to one day be in a position where I can teach other women, educators, train them, and then help them educate more people. That would really be like, I feel like that's my life purpose, to do a lot of that work too.
And how cool would that be if what you're teaching, we were to learn it when we were like in, I don't know, elementary, middle school. How cool would that be? Like that would be amazing. I think that would be a game changer. But, I mean, there's a lot of things we can add to the education system. But that one would be pretty good.
That would be good. And I think that, I hope that, you know, people don't, there's always people that get like iffy, right? Like, how much do you tell a young person? You know, because I don't know about you, but I grew up very like, again, when it comes to women, Latinas, like, you shouldn't know about your body. You shouldn't know about like touching yourself.
Yeah.
That's evil. That's like ser cochina.
Yes.
But if boys do it, it's like, oh well, you know,
It's
he's
not-
just a boy.
it's natural.
He's just a boy. He's got to get it out of his system, and that's what
Yeah.
it is, you know. But like for Latinas, we're just so ingrained that we got to be pure. We got to serve a man. We got to serve a boy. Our purity is in service of them. You know, it's not for ourselves. Like, it's for looking good for our potential male partner, right? And there's just so much that we can get into that, and why it's so very damaging to tell young women that no, your body is for yourself. And I think also like looking at the menstrual cycle can really help us advocate for like what feels good and safe in our bodies.
Wow.
Imagine if young girls knew that. We would advocate for ourselves so much more to understand like this situation doesn't feel safe and I'm going to get out of it. You know, because we have seen like in my personal history, I grew up in an abusive home. I grew up seeing my father hit my mother, you know, and that's the story for a lot of people, and we don't talk about it. But I think that this is just one piece that can really help us start understanding and being in tune with our bodies and feeling safe.
Definitely.
To be like, no, that's actually not normal, and I'm going to get out of it.
There you go. And like you mentioned earlier, we kind of grew up taught like to be at service of others, which is fine, but they forgot also an important aspect of caring for ourselves too as well. And then during your training, your studies of all this great information, have you noticed any resistance of any kind, or do people in your family or people you know like, oh, that makes sense, like I totally see that? Have you noticed any of the either?
Yeah, I've definitely seen it because I have 2 younger sisters, so they're more like intrigued too. So they're like more your age, right? And I'm 33 for anybody that's listening. But they're more intrigued. They're like, oh, like, yeah, I don't want to be on hormones. Like, what is this? And they're more understanding. A lot of also like cousins that I had that they start thinking like, oh, you know, our nieces or my niece is like growing up, or our nephews, like, imagine if they knew. And I definitely don't want to just single out the fact that like only women should know this, but our men need to know this too.
That's a good point.
Because I think too that like looking further at like just the different fluctuations and hormone changes that a woman experiences throughout life, even going into menopause, like there's still negativity in menopause también, right? Like when a woman is experiencing hot flashes, que decimos, vieja loca, you know, instead of like finding some support, like, pobre, like, how can we help you? You know, and taking like a more holistic approach, like, tómate estas hierbitas, take this to like calm the flashes. Like, how's a more holistic way of like just supporting your body, you know? Yeah,
because then the men simply being informed, then they'll know how to act appropriately, because they'll know, oh, she's actually going through something in her body. Which is, it's so simple, but a lot of men and some women just fail to understand. Instead of just putting a label on it, like, you're crazy, this and that.
And I think that's like, that goes deeper into like, that's really what partnership should be, right? That's really community care. Not necessarily that you need to be in a romantic relationship or partnership for that to happen, but like even among friends. You know, be like being open and being like, hey, you know, like my energy is low today, or this is what I'm feeling. And then being able to have that conversation, be like, okay, well, how can I support you with this? You know, your body's going through this. Like, what would feel good right now? And then having, like, I don't know, some kind of toolkit or something. That's really what I want this education to be. It's like a toolkit for yourself to navigate throughout your life.
What would you say has been the most rewarding aspect or part of your journey with you learning all this information about our menstrual cycle and holistic health?
It's really, what's been rewarding is connecting back to understanding that this is ancestral wisdom, you know, that this is really truly how we're supposed to operate, and seeing how we are so conditioned and programmed to like just be so disconnected from that, you know. And if I can just impart a little bit more intuition or spark a little bit of like you connecting to your intuition through your menstrual cycle, then I feel like I just feel like really honored that I get to share this knowledge, you know, because honestly, like I never would have thought, like you said earlier, right? Like unfortunately it took that moment for me to go through that, for me to get to this place. That was like a blessing in disguise. It really was, because I'm like, oh wow, like I'm doing this, and it's good. I want more people to know it.
Yeah, and it's so powerful. Like I just want to thank you. Like I'm so thankful, because with these sessions I've been able to just you know, learn and be a little bit more motivated with tracking my cycle and everything that goes with my emotions and stuff. So thank you for doing what you do. And then so for people who are, you know, interested, they just heard you're like, Cindy, I need to contact you. Like, you know, where can I check you out? Do you have a website? Any email to subscribe? Instagram, Facebook, any social media links?
Yes. So I'm on like pretty much all the social media links, but the biggest one that I'd probably say is more active and more people are like just easier access to is Instagram. Okay. So they can find me on Instagram. It's my name, Cindy _ Luquin is my last name, Luquin. And then I have a website. It's cindyluquin.com. Okay. And they can sign up to my email list through my website. So when you sign up, you actually get access to a free webinar that I did with another woman of color. Actually, I'll drop her here so you can all check her out too. Her name is Bree Braggs. She's the founder of Fertile Alchemy, is the brand that she created. She created these oils to help enhance fertility or just help you through different phases, you know. It's just a beautiful formula. It's really to support you during the, you know, your fertility, really, because it's your cycle is also part of the fertility, right?
Yes.
And just to help support you with these beautiful formulas. A lot of intention went behind them. She's a Black woman, so she owns that brand, and she's also very well educated in this knowledge as well, and she teaches other women. So we both came together and did a webinar that's a body literacy for women of color. So when you sign up to my email list, you'll get access to that. It's about 45 minutes, and then you can watch it. You can start understanding what it is that I teach, just very basic stuff. Wow. We both talk about it, and then if you want to go deeper, then that's when you book sessions with me.
Okay, great. Well, thank you so much, not only for your time to do the podcast, but also for what you do, because it's empowering.
No, thank you. Thank you so much.
All right, make sure to check out Cindy, and I'll leave the links in the description, and please check her out. Just learn what she's doing, and then she's free if you have any questions. Just, you know, support your community, support Latina women or Latino men too. Anyway, everybody.
Thank you.
All right, thank you, Cindy.